Hello gamers, welcome back to the games. I needed a couple days for this to kind of sink in. The 2016 Gamescom, I just needed a couple days for it just to sink in before I gave my impressions of it, because I'm not the type of YouTuber that's going to give you just like boom, boom, boom. I need to get it out there for the views right away and just regurgitate everything that you just saw. That's boring. I will not do that. I'm going to go over this with a fine-tooth comb. I'm going to tell you the positives. I'm going to tell you my concerns. But one of the things that I've noticed about this presentation was that it was just to showcase the NPC kind of mission quest, the grind quest. And while I loved it, the concern that I have is very major, and that is, you know, a lot of people are going to be spawning the same missions in the same places, and is this going to be like a wild grind fest? Is this going to be like, okay, everybody's pushing on this quest, now I'm going to go through these steps and I'm going to see everybody do it? And is this also going to be kind of like a troll kind of spawn point where people say, oh, they're going to run this mission, we're going to sit here, we're going to wait for them, and we're just going to gank? So these are things I'm very concerned about. I know we're going to have some different instances, but you will have plenty of people playing in your instance. So is this going to be the thing where you just see everybody kind of running or, you know, kind of going towards the finish line of a storyline mission all around you? I didn't hear anything being talked about that, and I want to kind of delve into that a little bit. But other than that concern, I did like the fact that they're kind of acquainting you with a system that has been down from the very origins, pun intended, of Chris's kind of mainstay design for a game, and that is, hey, let's give you kind of a personal experience and a story. He doesn't want this just to be like player driven, and I understand that. I kind of disagreed to it with the point, because I think the players should have more control in the game, but I get where he's coming from, because it is an old school mentality and it is antiquated to think that this system, you know, where you accept the mission and sub-stories and leading you in different areas, is this kind of an antiquated multiplayer experience? Ah, boy, I don't know. Tell me what you think down below. However, going through this seemed to be the mainstay and focus of the presentation, other than with the things that gave me like really kind of like positive vibes, which was the star map and the early work navigation that they're doing in ship. The 3D modeling in the game and Chris is planning on giving more detail to the point where, you know, you're actually basically presented with the arc map inside the ship, which, God, and the activation of the quantum travel through double clicking and setting routes in the map is just phenomenal. It basically gives me hope on being able to travel just about anywhere in system, putting beacons down for resources, and that's a great thing. That's a great thing. That was very positive. The planetary landing was also very positive. If you're still with me and you didn't get upset because you're a super fanboy this game, congratulations, because here's the positive things. You know, landing on planets was going to be something that was really technologically difficult or impossible to do, and now it is done by SIG. It's still got some work to do with graphics, you know, some more details, more textures, stuff of that nature, but for the most part, they got the fundamental brickwork done. Most planets and moons have beacon entry points where you can jump to and then get started on your landing. Going through the atmosphere is an experience in itself. Head cones from friction upon entering an atmosphere. You know, a question I had is, I'm wondering, based upon the density and the atmosphere of the planet or the moon, will the graphics be different? So that's something that didn't really get answered, but I really liked what happened there. Going through the atmosphere, once you're in it, there's a level of tug and pull on the controls based upon the mass and the aerodynamics of the ship. Very cool. Chris mentioned that based upon the size of the planet, it could take months to walk across if you so wish to do so. Now that was really cool. Now I'm sure if this is something that's going to be planned where you can just kind of land wherever you want to land, there has to be more than just rocks. This is going to be a huge stepping stone for SIG, you know. Do they want a planet that's just all rocks or all water or all and nothing to it other than procedurally generated terrain without life, without... How are they going to implement that, and the scale of which is going to be huge? And then you have to talk about survival. You have to talk about more than just needing the oxygen, more than just needing the fuel, depending upon if the planet supports life or not. You know, depending if the planet actually has oxygen on it already. You know, what are we talking about? Planets that have oxygen aren't really going to be able to, you're not going to be able to land and explore on. Of course you are. Look how they engineered it. So these are things that are going to take huge amounts of time to kind of design, put into the game that aren't even in it yet. This is going to delay it. This is going to delay Star Citizen multiplayer for quite some time. If you think about the amount of time they're going to have to focus into doing it, and he'll do it because Chris is a perfectionist, and that is a positive. But that concerns me. That does concern me a little bit. But the way that the assets interacted, you know, the player characters, the multiplayer experience, it's there. It's there. I get to see it. My eyes were just wide open. I was like anticipating from second to second on the things that were happening through this NPC generated mission, but the things that were kind of going on and clicking back in my mind were things that I've stated before. When you're going through the missions, are you going to have to deal with other people that are camping it? You know, to troll you for the items. Are the items actually appearing from nothing? Are they generated, spawned from nothing? Because then you got a whole bunch of traders who want a real market kind of very upset because now you've got a quantity that just kind of bumped up every time the mission's generated, and you know these items aren't really manufactured through a node. So you've got a couple people worried about that, and that wasn't necessarily answered in Gamescom. They just wanted to show in Gamescom, you know, the fact that it is a real multiplayer experience, especially after No Man's Sky debacle. You know, they wanted to make people aware of the fact that, hey, you're actually playing with your friend. You're able to go in a different area in real time and fly back to a planet, meet them, be in the ship with them. You're in a mission, great. You got an asset from the mission, great. You can bring it to your friend's ship, great. You know, you're landing on a planet. One of your friends is in a certain area of the station. You're in another. You're accepting the mission. You can do it with your friend to help you out. Great. Depending upon level of difficulty in the mission, you're going to need more than one friend. Great. You know, these are all really good things. But now I'm starting to think, okay, you got a whole bunch of people logged on. You got a whole bunch of people doing the same mission. Not so great. You got a whole bunch of people kind of like it's this mess. It's this big old spaghetti, you know, it's with you know, it's just this giant kind of mesh of like a whole bunch of real people and NPCs, and now I'm kind of worried about how they're going to separate this, because you got if you have people that are focused on the fact that they want more of an NPC type of a PvE grind experience, and you got more player characters that want more of a player experience, you're going to you might be developing like this kind of class war where you got the player characters like, hey, you know what, I'm just going to go straight after you. There's going to be penalties. There'll probably be, you know, a lot of faction decreases. Maybe these people that are going to do this won't be able to be in certain types of areas, but you might have a kind of a setup where you've got players that are not able to get into NPC areas because of the fact that they troll so much with security standings, and you know, that's what happens to those types of people. But that doesn't happen initially, because over time that'll happen to those types of people, and then they won't be able to get in those areas. But initially speaking, at the origin point, you know, people are just going to start off with kind of like a 0 point, you know, standing where they can just about go anywhere and do everything. You're still going to have a lot of people that are going to go ahead and troll and grief these kind of NPC missions and ruin kind of like an immersive experience. And to the point where it like almost makes you think, you remember like in WoW, if anybody plays WoW, you know, you do a mission, you see like everybody sprinting towards the end goal of the mission, or you see people who are there to try and kind of PvP you trying to get towards that goal, that end of the mission. That makes me a little bit more I don't know, skeptical, because when I first started getting to Star Citizen, I thought to myself, you know, maybe this is going to be more player oriented. Maybe Chris is going to kind of give this to the players, like, you know, but no, because the design philosophy, the way that he's made games from the past, you know, should give you kind of the clues and the answers and the mindsets of how he's going to make this game. And you can kind of see it based upon the multiple instances of missions and storylines being inserted here are very similar to the old Wing Commander, to the old Privateer. Is this an antiquated setup? Is this something that you know, maybe a lot of people don't want. I'm not quite sure. Put it down below. But these are the concerns that I have. Now, I do like the whole planetary landing aspect of what I saw in the presentation. I do think they need to work on the takeoffs and the landings. I think the terrain needs a lot more work. The graphics and the symmetry and the synergies needed in order to give a more real feel. They're having issues with the Cry engine. You know, I think that Chris wanted a really pretty game, so he chose Cry engine back in the day, not realizing that, you know, pretty might not give you exactly what you need. And they got a lot of coders coming in trying to make everything, you know, react with other assets, like the Dragonfly that was stolen from the Starfare and put in the Freelancer kind of bugged out once it got into the Freelancer. The content's being put in. You know, you're going to have a whole team that are going to start these NPC type missions. I'm just wondering the direction, because when I walked around, I felt like I was walking around, but when they walked around in the station, you saw a lot of NPC shops, but you didn't see anything that was like player owned. That makes me a little bit nervous too, you know, because you want players to be able to sell and have their own kind of shop where people can buy from them. And how is that going to be planned, and how is that going to be implemented? I love that they're working on technical issues right now, because they have to. They have a lot of technical issues to work out. CryEngine assets, you know, the way items react, physical, you know, the physics of an object in the game, the grabby hands that was shown to us through the end of the mission. This is all great and good. I understand they still have to work on these very basic things. So timeline gets pushed back yet again. I mean, we're talking 2018 now. Let's just be frank about this. We're pushed back into 2018 when this game's going to be released. So Squadron 42, kind of the bastion of hope to give us like the satiation that we need, to satiate us to get to the multiplayer that will eventually come out. Squadron 42 will be the one thing that's going to kind of be like, okay, we know we're taking a long time. We know we said this was going to be finished nearly 3 years ago, and it's not, but here's Squadron 42. You know, and that'll kind of be something that we can all take a kind of breath of fresh air and go, okay, and a sigh of relief, and then we can kind of say, okay, great, keep on working on, you know, keep on working on Star Citizen. He's got to. You know, what I saw gave me like a lot of chills, because it is all happening in real time. It is all multiplayer, and it is player character, but you know, between NPC mission, grind quest, and you know, thinking about every planet that needs to be, you know, if everything is generated on the planet as just the terrain without any detail to it, without any, you know, you might have a kind of a bad taste in some people's mouths. You might not. But who is now the question starts to become, who is the game geared towards? And was this the game that was promised? As far as I felt like it was a little bit more player driven than it was, or citizen driven than it was going to be NPC driven. And that's what the next video is going to be about. And the next video is going to be interesting, because we're going to incorporate a poll. And that poll is going to ask a really important question that it's a cliffhanger. Stay tuned for the next video, because I think you'll really like it. Our other polls are going gangbusters with the economy, and the survival poll is still being voted on. So I really like to start incorporating these polls to get kind of like to gauge the temperature of what's happening. It's still exciting. Like, everything that's happening right now is still very exciting. I want more answers. But they will come in time, citizens and gamers. And thanks for watching this video. If you want to be part of our community, please join our Steam group and check us out on Patreon to see what we're all about, my back history, and also where we want to take the channel. We'd appreciate it if you became a patron. Thanks for watching the entire video. You guys rock, and I will see you on the next vid.